you learn that the person that's writing this has been able to gather this evidence from hundreds of gyms, which amount to thousands of employees that are in the same position you're in. It's easy at that point to say, okay, like maybe there is something to this greater than just what the owner's saying. It could look manipulative, like you want us to do this just because. Whereas it's like, nope, here's all the A player activities, here's the common denominators, and here's the things of what you see the C players do.
Figure out how big of a boat do you need.
Yeah.
Because the people who just relentlessly chase money are the most unhappy people. And you just got to figure out what's enough for you.
When you're making money the goal, instead of the goal, and money the tool to get the goal. He said most people don't need to start doing more things to live longer. They need to stop doing things that are killing them fast.
This is why I love our conversations whenever we get together, is because...
Welcome to the Profit Lifestyle for Fitness Entrepreneurs podcast. My name is Scott Carpenter. I am a personal trainer turned multiple gym owner and investor who's already been through the rock bottom and near bankruptcy in the fitness business. But I've been lucky enough to come out the other side and have turned the profits of my fitness business into indestructible wealth. I'll be sharing the no bullshit strategies, tactics, and advice to win big in business and in life. So if you're a gym owner, a personal trainer, or an online coach who wants to make multiple six figures in take-home profit and have the freedom with your time to actually enjoy it, subscribe now to this podcast. This is the show for you.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Profit Lifestyle for Fitness Entrepreneurs. I am your host, Scott Carpenter. I have an amazing guest. It's crazy. We have so much in common.
We live right down the street.
We live like around the mountain. You're on one side, I'm on the other. Our homes are the same model.
Yep.
Really.
Like I knew exactly where to go to get here.
Yeah. We both back up. We're on the hill. We back up to the mountain range.
Yep.
You're familiar with my floor layout.
We work out at the same gym.
We work out at the same gym.
Which isn't the gyms we own.
Exactly. Avoid those like the plague. You're a gym owner. You're a business coach for gym owners, and vice versa.
Same hairstyle.
Same hairstyle. Like we're both very good looking.
Easily.
Bald head and my short beard. It's kind of nuts, man. We've been on different paths along the way, and it's kind of cool. So it's great having you over at my house and shooting this. It's the first time I've kind of done one live in here.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy. So for those of you who don't know Mike, he's the CEO of Loud Rumor and started off as a marketing agency for gyms, right? And then you got into Prettier Mastermind with it, and you got into investing in gyms as well. So yeah, welcome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. This is actually really fun. I've had plenty of conversations with Scott, and every time we've talked, I think one time we're like, hey, let's go do cold tub, hot tub, back and forth, because we work out at the same gym. It's a Lifetime. It's got all that stuff. And it was probably scheduled for an hour, and I think it went 3 or 4 hours, which we probably burnt a lot of calories just sitting in the hot and cold for like that long. But no, it was a great conversation.
Yeah, we had that one guy that got in the cold plunge that sounded like he was in labor.
Yeah. Usually it does sound like people are dying in there. If you're there long enough, you'll catch people almost die.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's great to have you on. And one of the big reasons we want to do it is kind of number one, I'm excited about this. So I'm one of the first people to get this isn't even launched yet.
No,
right?
Launches June 7th. So considering that today, the day that we're filming is still in May, what's it, 23rd today?
Something like that.
Yeah. You're definitely, I think you're like owner of number 3.
Yeah, that's sweet. So I'm getting this signed before I leave, but it's The Standard Is You, the Gym Employee's Guide to Winning Work, Life, and Leadership.
Yep.
And this is kind of cool because you actually inspired me to write my first book.
Yeah, I got it right here. I see, huh?
Yeah. And because you wrote like a booklet.
Yeah.
I remember getting Grant Cardone's. I think it was like the Millionaire booklet or stuff like that. And then I saw you had one as a lead magnet. God, that was probably like a decade ago.
So it was funny. I went to Grant's house that weekend, and he gave me a booklet. He's like, "Oh, you got to take this booklet." And it was like a Millionaire booklet or something like that. And I looked at it, and at first I was kind of like, what is this? Like it looked like what you get when you go to a zoo and they like just want to make sure you know where all the animals are. Yeah. It was like so small. And he's like, dude, that thing has made me so much money. It's got my message out. And I wrote that thing in like a few hours, and it takes about a half hour to an hour to read.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? He's like, yes, I've gotten so much business for that. So I'm like, can you give me your publisher? So he gave me the publisher, and then I just, I read the books to understand like what his style was, and I realized it's a blog. It's a blog. It's all it is.
Free writing in that thing.
Completely. There's typos in it.
Yeah.
And I went to work. I wrote one in probably 4 hours. I did get a lot of business from it, which was really great, but also people that still have great relationships with their clients of ours because of it. And then, we wrote like 4 other ones since then. And then this particular time, there was, I think what you said happened to you with your book. There's just too much to put in a booklet.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a book, and it's still, I left things out. I'm going to have to make a 2.0 version.
Mm-hmm.
I left things out that I thought were just in a different category of the topic, not letting more or less important, just another way to look at it. But I kept this as thin as it is. If you notice, it's still a thin book.
Yeah. It's not like mine, I think.
Yeah. So I'm part of a program called Strategic Coach. Dan Sullivan I don't know if you ever heard of Dan Sullivan.
That's been one that I've been contemplating joining. Yeah. So when I was speaking at the Gym Business Mastery conference, I spoke for 3 hours on high ticket. I spoke for 3 hours on building indestructible wealth. And I met a guy there who's in that, and I got all the lowdown on it because that's the one I love. Who, not how.
Yeah,
I love the gap and the gain. It's just great principles and a lot of wisdom. So we'll connect offline on that. I'd love to get your opinion on it too. But he had nothing but great things to say about it.
Yeah, and I think the reason this book wasn't 300 pages was because of what I learned at one of the events. Mm-hmm. So one of the guys that spoke at the event. He's been the guy behind hundreds of really good books. I think a few of them you've got on your shelf there. And he's been behind that, the strategy of it. And so Dan had him go up and just share some of the biggest lessons he learned about writing books and which ones were more successful, which ones had the most shares. And he said, it really comes down to the amount of books that actually get finished. He goes, if your book doesn't get finished by most people, that's the story. Yeah, I started it, but I didn't finish, right? And also people miss some of the stuff. It's just not a good story. He goes, what you want is, dude, I read that book in a day.
Yeah.
That's the story, right? Like I read this book, I picked it up, I read it in a day. So what he started using as a KPI was how many people can finish reading the book. And then he had sub KPIs to determine what increases the probability of finishing a book. What are some of the patterns? And he shared some of those patterns, but one of those patterns was the length of the book. And in particular, the time it takes to read the book. That's actually the biggest KPI. Mm-hmm. And so what he said is it needs to be either a long lunch or a short flight. So 90 minutes to 2 hours tops. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, how many words per minute does the average reader read? And how many words would my book need to be in order to be, in that time frame? Now I'm at the event, right, doing this while he's talking. But then he said another thing, which was the pages. He said the average book that's 200 pages or more, and he's talking about the meat of the book. So, you have the front of the book. It's just the beginning part. Then you have the back. It's like the tools and resources and stuff. That stuff's like not what he means. What he means is the meat of the book, the actual like chapters. It says the books that are 200 pages or longer have a 3% completion rate. 97% of those books never get fulfilled. The books that are between 1 to 200 pages have a 10% completion rate. The books that are between 80 to 100 have a 40% completion rate. And the books that are under 80 have a 60% completion rate. So if you look at some of Dan Sullivan's books, which he was behind, his books are about as thin as that, maybe a little thinner, because he didn't include some of the stuff I included at the end, which was some tools and resources. Right. But his books are thinner, and it's true. I can get them done in a couple hours.
That's one of the reasons why I love them so much. It takes one concept. Yes, quite often you want to take and distill your 15 plus years in the business.
Yes,
exactly. Same with me. I want to distill it all. Yeah, something. And the reality is that's just not how. Obviously, as you're backing up with statistics, it's not how that works.
No, and that's why, like, even though there's so much more that I could have put in this book, I realized that there were silos in how to teach it. Yeah. Just like in fitness, right? You can help someone get in the best shape, but maybe there's a book specifically about strength training. Then there's another book just about nutrition. Then there's another one just about recovery, as opposed to making a book that includes it all. Right. So same thing when it comes to developing your people, which is to me the most important thing. We keep a ridiculous amount of KPIs at Loud Rumor, and one of the KPIs that we have is the amount of businesses that are successful in the goals that they set over the course of the year. And then we have sub KPIs for the months leading into it and the quarters. But then what we have is sub KPIs for what happens with the people that do those things. And one of them is their team. So when we ask our gym owners, hey, on a scale of, 1 to 10, where do these players lie as far as great fits, as far as the right person in the right seats doing the right things right? That's the measurable. And the gyms that feel like they're at 100% or enough to 100% to where it's pretty much 100, like 97, 98, they're hitting all their goals. Me and my team have not seen anybody that's putting 90 or above as far as they got the right people in the right seats doing the right things right, and they're not hitting goals. What we've also not seen is the opposite. We've not seen any gyms that are missing their goals that have that 95. So it's like, whichever way you look at that measurable, having the right people in the right seats doing the right things right is the most important thing. Everything else, the owner's enthusiastic, he's got a big name, he's got a brand, the colors are amazing, the classes are fun, the community's solid, all that stuff's great. It's great and it helps. But if the right people aren't on the team and they're not working on the right things and they're not doing it right, it doesn't matter. Like the data is the data. Now we're looking at this over hundreds of gyms and gym owners, meaning some of them have dozens of studios under their brand, right? And when we look at it, there hasn't been one exception, not one. So that's why I started with this book.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I love just having one focus around it.
Yeah.
One focus. And those are the ones, I enjoy, I'm a good reader, so I will, get through a lot. But at the end of the day, those are the ones that I'll reread.
Yeah. 100%.
One thing.
Yeah. I've stopped, funny enough, I stopped caring about finishing a book.
Yeah.
I start skimming. I always read the first few because I want to understand the foundation of the book, the first few chapters. And then after that, I'll kind of just go to the table of contents and skim through. And what I've learned is if I've gotten value out of the areas that I've decided I want to learn more about, because those are the things that matter to me, right? Let's say 18 chapters and I go to chapter 13, 16, 19, right? And I go, wow, I got a lot of value. Automatically, I'm going to want to look at the next thing that I might find value. And I might read the book just in Quentin Tarantino order, right? In my own way. But if I didn't get value out of the thing I wanted to get the most value in, I'm probably putting the book down. Maybe I'll go to the next one, but I'll probably put the book down. Now, did I probably miss out on some things? Sure. I'm sure I did. Sure. But I'm playing the odds game here. I'm going to pick up another book instead.
Yeah. I just did that with Tiny Habits right over there, which is a phenomenal book. So many people are a fan of Atomic Habits.
Yeah. I read that one. Yeah.
That's what kicked off all the high ticket and the mentorship, like bringing that into your gym. Right. But then somebody had recommended Tiny Habits. So they sent it to me, which is pretty awesome. But I was talking to them. They're like, you got to listen or read that. And so I got it and I made it through 3 to maybe 4 chapters. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing. I'll just table contents and I'll skim because I can just let me pick up the things. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
You need the first 3 to 4 chapters and you're golden.
100%. And then, like I said, if you're super impressed, you're going to want to naturally go, what else is in here?
Right.
Right. But you get an idea if this book is what you're looking for quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got this. What's the one thing that somebody's going to get out of this? I'm looking forward to reading it.
Well, that's the thing. It's not one thing, but it's a lot of little things. And I think that's important because the overall arching thing is, okay, I now have a scorecard to determine if I'm an A player. That's the number one overarching thing. I now have a scorecard. I know if I'm an A player or not, and I know what I got to do to get there if I'm not. If you're an owner reading, which that's important, by the way, too, this wasn't written for the owner. This was written for the team. So now owners are going to get value out of it, reading it for sure, because it's going to help them get in sync with their team. Everybody now has a clear definition of what an A player really looks like, right? We're all on board here, but it's really written for the team. There's things in there that I think the owner wants to say and maybe even attempts to say, but maybe because of their position in the company or because of their lack of practice with articulating it, it never really hits. And sometimes it even has a counter effect where, you know, it is counterproductive. So this allows me to be that uncle. Rick Mayo called me the uncle. He's like, this allows you to be the uncle that comes in and says the things that dad wants to say, but from a different position and with more practice.
I love that. And you can tell I'm such a speed reader where I completely glossed over the gym employees guide.
Yeah.
And then this just got 10 times more valuable in my eyes.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing really directed towards that.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like when I say something, it's not me anymore. I'm not dad in the gyms. I don't even know half the employees at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes from the owner or the operator, whatever it is, it's coming from dad.
Yeah.
And you just ignore it, gloss over it. Oh, you heard it before. Blah, 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 blah. But when it comes from somebody else, it just hits so much harder.
Yeah. Especially when that person, you know, you learn that the person that's writing this has been able to gather this evidence from hundreds of gyms, which amount to thousands of employees that are in the same position you're in. It's easy at that point to say, okay, like maybe there is something to this greater than just what the owner's saying. It could look manipulative, like you want us to do this just because. Whereas it's like, nope, here's all the A player activities. Here's the common denominators. And here's the things of what you see the C players do. And now I'm not saying who you are. You just have a good measuring tool now. You can now decide where you fall based on what I'm showing you.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. No, that just got way more valuable. I cannot wait to read that thing now.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What are like 2 or 3? Because I know you've kind of got, you know, little chapters in there.
Yeah.
Right? With like little steps that you can do. And I'm butchering this, but yeah, the 13 rules A players play by.
Yeah, I'll tell you one that actually showed up today that I really, really loved, and it's called Manage Up. So today on a power call, we do these calls at Loud Rumor 3 times a week. And so Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Friday's themed our accelerator call. This is where the gyms come in, they share, hey, here's our main focus. There's only 3 main focuses that you could have. And so they got to have one of those 3. Here's our main focus. Here's our winner progress towards that focus. Here's our constraints, if we have any. And then here's, are we stuck or clear? Meaning like, hey, do I need help from the community, or I know what I need to do. I just wanted to announce it, right? Mm-hmm. And so the owner, Marcus, he said, I'm clear. And his manager said, hold on, Marcus, I don't know if we're fully clear. And he kind of smiled, and I said, oh, and I stepped back, and she didn't allow Marcus to get off the hook. And Marcus and her have such a relationship built on trust, which is important, by the way. But Manage Up is something different that everybody else understands about management. Everyone knows Manage Down, right? If you hire me to be a manager, I'm the general manager, general person, right? Like haven't had a lot of leadership training. I just understand because I've had managers and I generally understand what they do. I know that I have people below me, and my job is going to be to make sure that they follow process and they do things the way they're supposed to do them, and people feel like valued and all that, right? That's my job. Everybody knows as manager, managing down, that's what it looks like. But nobody ever thinks about managing up. You're the owner of the business. You're the owner of several. At your business, as great as an owner as you are, and you're a good one, you fuck up.
All the time.
You don't always know what to do.
Yep.
You don't always have the answer. You didn't always see that thing coming. That thing didn't always work out the way you hoped. And your team is very valuable if they can come to you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to give you an example of how I've seen this work in the best way possible. Okay. I had somebody still have him. He's been with me for 8 years. His name's Patrick. And I had a meeting that I led with everybody in my company. It was a state of the company meeting. And I thought it went really, really well. I thought I landed it. And I think I generally did up until one thing that I said. I don't remember what it was that I said or how I said it, but I just remember there was something that I said. And I finished a meeting not knowing that it had a different impact than what I thought. Mm-hmm. Patrick knocks on the door. Yeah, come in. Comes in. He goes, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? I was like, yeah. And he's like, hey, man, there's something you said in the meeting that I don't know if I know your intentions. So I don't think you realize that it came off a certain way, but I think it could have had a negative impact. And I go, what? And then he had mentioned what it was. And I immediately, like, he didn't even finish his sentence. I immediately realized, like, oh, you're right. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even see that angle. Now, Patrick didn't say something to me, I would have had to deal with the repercussions ongoing. But because he got a chance to tell me that, I had a chance to now go back to the group in another meeting and say, hey guys, I said something the other day and I realized that it could have come off in a totally different way. And I think it actually did. Because Patrick was kind enough to come to me and talk with me about what he felt when he heard it. And Patrick, thank you, by the way, so much for that. Guys, here's what I said. Now, here's what I meant, but here's how I know it sounded. And I apologize for that. And they all understood it. They all appreciated it. But what do you think happened after that? After they saw Patrick do that, me acknowledge and thank him, what do you think started happening?
They felt safe to do that. The other people did.
Patrick is the standard, right? So in that, the reason it's called the standard is you is because whatever you do becomes the standard. If you walk over trash, other people are more likely to walk over trash. If you do what Patrick did, you're more likely to feel confident doing it. Yesterday at Lifetime, Lifetime has that, I do sometimes a 6 a.m. alpha strength class. I did that yesterday. And they have all their kettlebells in that rack. You know what I'm talking about, right? So afterwards, she asked us to go and clean it up. So I picked up the kettlebells. I walked over. Now, my training is you put them perfectly with the numbers facing out. You don't just throw them over. It should look like it's about to be in a photo shoot. That's my training. But I went to go put them, and there was a mess.
Every day.
So what do you think I did? I just put them back.
Yeah.
I just put them how they were. Why? Because I fell into the standard. That's the standard there. And I fell into it. Even though that's not who I am on the inside, that's not me. I can become that because you've defined the standard. Now, vice versa. Let's say I went to go put those kettlebells back and they were all perfect. And the guy that put his right before me put them down and like moved them perfectly and then went back. You think I'm just going to throw them up there? I can't. You can't do that. You would have to be a really ridiculous human being. Yeah. So I would have put them back right. So the point of that is whatever you do, you let the phone ring off the hook. That's the standard. You run to it to make sure it doesn't hit 3 rings. That's the standard. Mm-hmm. So everything that's in this book is helping employees and owners as well really get clear on all the different opportunities to create a standard that you're either going to hold an A-level standard because an A player did it, or it's going to be below that. And, in the way the world is today, being great at what you do isn't good enough. A lot of people are great at what they do. Back in the 80s, before online reviews, you could have been, look, Jordan Belfort, I don't really think he's that great of a salesperson. I think it's easy to sell stuff when you lie. Yes. Imagine I told you can lie. Yeah. Just say anything.
Anything.
How much would you close?
Everything.
Now,
everything.
Granted, he has some skill sets with tonality and with understanding humans, but what a handicap to lie.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So I think it's being extremely honest and be able to sell that well. That's a whole different game.
Especially in the financial industry. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Dreams, taking advantage of people that are broke and telling them this thing.
Yep.
Right. So that's, just my perspective on that. But when it comes to the world that we're in now, you can't get away with that. If you are dishonest, if you lie, if you cheat, if you do anything, that's going to hit your review. You're going to the world's going to know very quickly and easily. People are very quick to rush that kind of stuff online. And so being great is a standard now.
I just talked to a gym owner yesterday who's somebody lost 40 pounds as a nurse. Mm-hmm. And then she left a negative review because she said he forced her to stay there for longer, and she lost another 25 pounds. She left when the cancer started creaming. It was just the thing is people are nuts out there.
Yeah.
So you got to be really careful.
Yeah,
you got to be really careful.
Yeah. So right now, in order to get good results, you got to do great work. In order to get great results, it has to be excellent. It's got to be excellent.
Yeah. I love it. The standard is you. And that makes a lot of sense because that's what a lot of gym owners struggle with. Mm-hmm. Where, especially as they start scaling, maybe they got multiple locations, they start getting out. You do need employees to hold the standard.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, nobody cares like the owner does, right? True and false.
Yeah.
Right? You can create that,
But man, does that take a lot of work and a lot of repetition and the right people and the right training. And sometimes I need to hear it from somebody else other than dad.
Yeah. And one of the things in there,
Mike.
one of the things in there is not just to hold the standard, but an A player on the team raises the standard.
Yeah.
So an A player on the team, if let's say the process says to do this whenever this happens, the A player is going to do that, but they're going to do it with a different energy. They're going to follow up after. They're going to make sure they remember or make a note to make sure they go back to that member. That may not be the process, but they care so much about the outcome that the process is intended for than the actual process. Checking boxes is one thing, but being able to understand what the outcome is, that allows you to possibly go outside of the box sometimes, because sometimes you have to. Like as a business owner, there's no way you've been successful by following the path.
Hell no.
You have to go around sometimes because you realize like, yeah, this is the right way, but I got to go around. Just like the waitress, a waitress at a restaurant. If something botches, she might know the right thing is to go tell the manager comes over, have a conversation with you. He could do that. Yeah. The waitress could also come by and say like, hey, I just want to let you know, this isn't really like us. I'm really sorry. Just so you know, this dessert is on me personally, not the restaurant. It's on me. So now
this whole concept reminds me a lot of QBQ, which is, I don't know how many decades ago it was written, but is the question behind the question.
Okay.
Very short book. And I believe it was a long time ago when I read this thing. But the question that you ask yourself, if I remember correctly, is like, because we all complain about stuff. Employees complain about their employers, their conditions, everything, their pay, whatever it is. But really, there's a lot of things that you can and can't control. But at the end of the day, if you ask yourself, hey, what can I do to make this a better experience for that customer? What can I do just blank?
Yeah.
In anything, that will lead you to raise the standard. And they gave instances of, or a waiter, waitress, whatever it was, and they wanted a Coke, and it was a place that had Pepsi or whatever, and then
she went next door.
Yeah. Like vending machine or whatever it was, got it, and here you go.
Whole different game. That right there, that's an A player.
Yeah.
Now, some people listening are going to say, that's not my job. You're right. It's not. That's what'll keep you at a B or C, right? And I say B or C because it depends on the other stuff you're doing. But an A player, they don't care about this process at all times. They want to follow it. They don't want to do anything to hurt the process, but they care more about the outcome.
Very nice. I'm curious now. You mind if I read off the 13 things? Because now
I
kind of
let's do
the bullet points, because it's got part 1, part 2 is the 13 roles A players play by. Number 1, raise the standard. 2, truly contribute. 3, manage up. 4, FIO and GSD. I don't know FIO, but GSD is get shit done.
So FIO is figure it out.
Figure it out.
So this is not a world we live in where I don't know is a good enough answer.
Yeah. That's great. I love it. And that's where a lot of employees stop. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to do that.
Well, and here's for the people that are listening that are owners. Yeah. People that are listening are owners. This is a really good one too, because when they hear, I don't know, then they jump in and solve.
Yes.
But then what happens is you get better. So here's the way I look at it. You get good at whatever you what? Practice, right? Yeah. You get good at whatever you practice. So what happens is, let's say the owner wants the employee to get better at something. And so the problem with this is the owner looks at the employee and goes, oh, well, he's not as good at me right now at this, so I'll just take it because it'll be faster if I do it, right? And it'll be better if I do it. The problem is the reason there's that gap is because you have more reps than they do. Well, guess what? You just practiced it again. So what did you get? You just got better. Now the gap of your skill set's even larger. So the likelihood of you trusting them again is even lower. So what are you going to do again? You're not going to trust them. You're going to do it again. You get another rep. Next thing you know, you're in the position where you go, man, people suck. I can't find anybody good.
Yep.
You can find people that are better than you. You just got to get them more reps than you get.
Absolutely. The last gym that I got of was my Desert Ridge location. And I had Shane there, and I was very deliberate about not doing that again. Because this is multiple gyms. This is the last one I need to get out of it. I had to do it by necessity. I just had too much opportunity. I can't spend 10 hours, 15 hours a week in there. And it's just the only thing I did over and over and over was encourage him to solve his own problems.
Yeah.
And I would congratulate him and encourage him and support him whenever he did that, regardless if it's the decision I would have made or if it caused another mistake. First of all, thank you for doing that and trying to solve that problem. and going for, because that's exactly what I wanted you to do.
Yeah.
And then I'll just coach you up on how I might have done that and how you could potentially do that better, or ask him the same thing. All right, you did that and then that happened, which wasn't totally what we wanted. How else could you do that?
Yeah.
And it's no more effort, really. It's just changing your immediate need as an owner to jump in there and solve the freaking problem.
Yeah. And if you think about solving problems, you're faster at it now than you've ever been.
Yeah.
And you'll be faster at it in a year from now because you've got a lot more problems to solve, right? So sometimes when you look at employees that are newer to the workforce, or maybe they're newer to being in the position of solving bigger problems than they're currently solving, they don't have the skill set yet to be as fast as you. So sometimes like the easy answer is like right there, but it's not there for them yet, just like it wouldn't have been for you with the amount of reps that they would have had, right? So what I'll do is I'll say, listen, this is a thing I want you to figure out. Let's do this Friday. Let's meet 8 a.m. We'll have a talk. What I want to know is some of your ideas, why you think it'll work. And even if you think they're wacky and they may not work, so I'm just interested in how you're thinking through it. But I'd love to hear like how you are planning on solving this one thing. I need your help on this, right? Now you gave them the space. Because if you ask them, I don't know, what do you think? Well, if they have your reps of problem solving, they're going to come up with it as fast as you think they could.
Yeah.
But sometimes people just need that time. Like think about a golfer can just go up and swing it. Me, I'm not a golfer. I've golfed. I'm not a golfer, which means I have to think, okay, how am I gripping it? My feet position, my shoulder position, my line. I do all that in my head. So I need a good 15 seconds before I'm swinging. Yeah. The golfer, he just, right? So I think that's another thing, is giving people a buffer of time to solve a problem as opposed to just, what do you think?
Very smart. Very smart. It's just as we evolve, and so much as an entrepreneur, we forget what it's like to be back down that path. Where everything was new, So I love it. There's a lot of nuggets in here. 5, extreme ownership, stay hungry, win together, owner mentality, understand the math, be results oriented, practice perspective. Who's your David? Which is probably from
Michelangelo.
Yeah, that metaphor, that analogy from Dan Sullivan's book. Was it Who Not How?
I don't know. I didn't get it from that. I got it from my pastor.
Okay, you might be using it in a different way.
Yes. Okay, so
was that Who Not How?
So you're thinking the concept of
10x is easier than 2x.
Yeah. So
that was the main linchpin metaphor in that book.
So who's your David? So I know with Dan Sullivan, because I studied Dan Sullivan quite a bit. It's about finding somebody that can be the person to get the job done that you need. The who. With who's your David, I labeled that myself, that chapter. That's not an actual thing I took from someone, but I did take the story from someone, and he took it from someone too, admittedly. Sure. So my pastor told this story that I told at GSDCon. And so it's a story based in 1501 in Florence, Italy. And you essentially had this massive, just giant block of marble that no artisan was able to confirm they could do anything with. It was just too imperfect. There were flaws and gaps and pits and holes in it. So everybody was just like, it's not good enough to do anything with. It's too imperfect. And so it just sat there for 40 years. Nobody did anything with it for 40 years. And then along comes this guy, 26 or so years old, pretty decent artist, name's Michelangelo. And he decided he could do something with this thing. And so he got out his hammer and chisel and started chipping away at this thing. Went for 2 years chipping away at this thing. And then he ended up creating what was, known as still today, the greatest sculpture of the human form, the Statue of David. And so somebody asked Michelangelo, how did you create something so amazing out of a block of marble that everybody deemed was too imperfect to do anything with? And he said, well, I started with the vision of David in my mind, and then I just carved away everything that was not David. So then what I did was I told that story to everyone at GSDCon, and then I said, it's important we get a vision of who our David is. Who is our David? Who's the masterpiece that's already in us if we just got rid of the nonsense? Because a lot of times we want to add things. We're always thinking, if I want to be a better person, I've got to add stuff. I got to add a morning routine. I got to add more water. I've got to add this. I've got to add that. But in most cases, we actually have to carve things away. Who are we hanging out with? What bad habits do we currently have? I was blessed to hang out with this guy that's a human performance expert. I don't know if you've ever heard of Andy Galpin. Andy Galpin's a human performance expert, and he gave me this question that followed a question I had, because he's specialized in longevity as well. And I said, I want to live to 130. How do I do it? And he said, well, how do you make a car go faster? I said, well, you could put a better engine in it. He's like, yeah. I was like, you could put better tires. He's like, yeah, what else? I go, you could make it lighter. He goes, yeah, or you could take your foot off the brake and watch that thing really take off. He said, most people don't need to start doing more things to live longer. They need to stop doing things that are killing them fast.
This is why I love our conversations whenever we get together, is because, yeah, we've been influenced by the same source. We put the same things into practice. It was literally my post this morning about success is not so much the things that you do, but the things that you don't do.
Yeah.
Right? And I listed a few things that I don't do. I don't spend 5 to 15 hours watching sports and listening to sports and getting highlight reels. I don't do that. Now, if somebody really values that, I'm not saying don't do it. Right? But I don't do that. I don't stay up late watching Netflix. There's so many things I don't do because, that's a lot of times how you get to that success. Don't do those things. And it's brilliant.
This is something that I told a lot of the employees of the gyms that we work with once. And it was this idea around selfishness, around money. So society is going to shape most of our perspective. Mm-hmm. We know this because we know that if we grew up in China, if we grew up in China, our perspective would be different than if we grew up in Idaho.
Yeah.
Right. It's just going to be different.
Absolutely.
So our environment really, really does shape it. And so with that, I mean, think of all the Instagram memes and everything you see. I'd rather be happy than rich, or, who needs money? Money's the root of all evil. Money's greed. No, none of that's true. Man, some really amazing things have been done because money was involved, whether it was schools being built, whether, people getting cured. Right now, it sounds like they're coming up with some cures for cancer in other countries right now, which is amazing, which was funded by a lot of money that was made by people that had it, right? So I think what happens is people will create a story in order to justify their reason for not having or for being in a certain situation. So I'd rather be happy than rich. Therefore, I didn't choose to be rich because I'd rather be happy. This is a choice. I'm not rich because I chose to be here. Now, first, you got to define what is rich to you anyway. Mm-hmm. Is rich $10 million, $1 million, is it $250,000 a year? Is it $100,000 a year? Is it just, I want to be able to do everything I want to do in life, even if it means I'm making 40 or 50 grand a year? That's up to you, right? Nobody gets to define that. But alongside of that, when you think about, well, what do you want to do? Like, that's where, who's your day? What do you want to do? Do you love traveling? Yes. Well, traveling can be expensive, not just in money, but in time. You've got to have that both available to be able to get away and go do it. Okay, great. So that means I need money and I need to be in a position where I can step away. Excellent. But the thing you hear is everything around money is being selfish. Well, personally, if you think about it the other way, well, what are you going to do instead? If you're not going to learn how to go make that money, you're not going to work extra hard to go make that money that you want to live the life that you truly want deep down. If you're not going to do that, what are you going to do instead? Like you said, maybe Netflix. The average American right now spends 11 hours a day on a screen.
I just read that this morning when I was writing my post.
More than 8 hours of that is on non-work related activities. 8 times 7 is 56. People don't want to work a second job, but they're doing it. 56 hours. Okay. So now you tell me, what's more selfish? Finding a way to make more money so you can do more things that you want to do and help more people when you need. I was able to buy my mother-in-law a house. I was able to help my best friend when he passed away. I was able to help that funeral, fund that funeral. I was able to give money to people when they need it and not have to worry about it coming back to me. I was able to do that. Those are good things. And I've fed hundreds of thousands of children in starving countries through our charitable stuff. That's happened because of money. You know what's more selfish though? Not being able to do that because I want to watch Netflix instead.
100%. And this is where I really, really start geeking out on financial philosophy and what money is.
Right.
Because quite often, yes, the popular narrative is eat the rich and this and that and the other. And listen, the way I look at money, as long as you're not a crook, And there's plenty of them out there. Okay. We talked about, yes, Jordan Belfort. He's happy to lie and steal your money.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are.
And he'll brag about it.
And there are people like that. But at the end of the day, if you're doing good things, right, and you're not a crook, money is exchanged anytime people are getting value, right? You have all this knowledge. You've thought through this thing. You put it all down on paper, right? You're selling this book. What is it? $20 or 25, right? $20, $19.99, right? So you value the $20 more than the knowledge because you know it like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
Right? I will pay you $20 because I value the knowledge that's in here more than my $20.
Right.
We're both getting value out of this.
100%.
And the more you find ways to sell products and services that other people find more valuable than the money, the more everybody wins.
Right.
It's just evidence of bringing more value into the world.
Yeah.
The more money you make, it means, as long as you're not a crook, it means you're bringing more value to the world. And what's more selfish than like, nope, I'm done bringing value to the world. Nope, not going to do it anymore.
Right. And here's the important message to that too, though, is that I don't care if you make a lot of money or not. If you're an employee and you're a coach and you're making 45 grand a year, 40 grand a year, and you love your job and your impact is that amazing relationship you have with your members, and you're helping them believe in themselves more than they believed in themselves before, right? And you're really like making a real difference. That's it. Like the whole idea is, how can I contribute to the world in greater quantities than I take from it? That's it. So it's not necessarily only about money, but if deep down inside, there's things that you want to do that would cost money, it's totally okay. It doesn't make you greedy. It doesn't make you selfish. I'd argue that the person that calls it selfish to go make more money, and then they go and they watch Netflix or they go watch Hulu or they do Amazon Prime or they scroll on TikTok and they do that. If you think about it, the only person that's benefiting from it, and really you're not benefiting as much as you think, is you. No one else is getting anything out of you scrolling TikTok or being on those channels. You're the only one that's getting some level of entertainment out of it. That to me is selfish. So just a different frame for it.
Yeah. And wealth it's money, part of it, but it doesn't have to be that. But it's time, it's relationships, impact in the world.
Options.
It doesn't have to be money. You look at Mother Teresa, she really didn't have anything of value of her own.
No.
Like, how much she contributes. She's very wealthy.
Dude, one of the coolest experiences and one of the reasons I think it's so great to travel, my wife and I went to Sicily about 3 or 4 years ago. And when we went to Sicily, we landed around like 4:00 in the afternoon, or we got into town around 4:00. And I don't know if you know much about a lot of these countries and their siestas. So from 12:30 to like 6:00, everything's shut down. People leave and go home and sleep or spend time with their family, and then they come back and work until like midnight. That's like a normal thing in Sicily. And so we got there we're starving, and we go to a restaurant, there's nothing to eat. We're like, oh yeah, that's right. That's how it is here. And so we get to this one restaurant on the pier, and it looks like they're opening in like a half hour or so. So we're like, all right, we'll just wait here. They allowed us to get a coffee, just no food. So we're waiting there, and there's this guy that's sitting there, and he hears me and Marjan talking. And he's sitting probably as close as that door, so maybe like 10, 12 feet away. And he ends up kind of asking me from where he's at. He goes, hey, where did you learn Italian? Because I'm speaking in Italian, but I'm not that good yet. That was my first time to Sicily. I was still learning it, right? And I go, oh, I'm practicing right now. And he goes, oh my gosh. He's like, that's amazing. He's like, how are you practicing? So he comes over, pulls up a chair. And I was like, well, I've done a lot. I got a course, I got a podcast, but I also got a teacher. He's like, wait, you have a teacher in Arizona that helps you learn Italian? I was like, no, she's actually online. And so she coached me. She's in Sicily and she's online. She teaches me. He goes, and he did the whole Italian. He's like, how much you pay this woman? And I thinking I'm getting a steal. I go, I'm paying her $26 an hour. I'm thinking that's a steal, right? 26 an hour. And he goes, you're paying this woman 26 an hour. So what? So she could teach you Italian for what? And I go, so I could talk Italian. I want to learn Italian.
To you.
Yeah. And he goes, I thought it was good. I'm paying my guitar instructor $75 an hour. And he goes, you pay someone $75 an hour to teach you guitar? For what? Why? I go, how else am I going to learn guitar? He goes, you find someone that knows how to play the guitar and you say, hey, can we be friends? He teaches you guitar. And now from now on, he's always the friend that taught you guitar and you're the friend that he taught guitar to. It's an amazing relationship. And I go, it doesn't work like that in America. And he goes, America's stupid sometimes. And he goes, because that's how it should be. Now that's the foundation. But here's what's cool about it. So then we're talking about what he does and he works at the restaurant, hanging out. I go, why are you here? You said it's your day off. Why are you here? He's like, these are my friends. My friends are here. And I go, but you don't have to be here. He goes, I know I don't have to be anywhere. I go where I want. I want to be here. These are my friends. They got the same values. The company hires the same type of people. So why would I go anywhere else? I already know these people are like me. And I go, so you just hang out here on your day off? He's like, yeah, I like it. And I go, okay, cool. And he's like, but I wouldn't lie. I would like to make a little bit more money sometimes. And I go, really? He's like, yeah. So that's why I'm seeing if I can come in, maybe get an extra shift or two. That's all he was thinking. Now I come in and I go, because I found out he was also a teacher in London helping people learn Italian. So he knew enough English. So I'm like, she's getting paid $26 an hour. Why don't you do what she's doing? He goes, I got to do all that for what? And I go, so you can make more money. He goes, I don't need that much more money. I just need a little bit more money. And I go, yeah, but why not have a little bit more than that? He goes, for what? And I go,
wild.
I go, so you could do whatever you want. He's like, he points at the water because the restaurant was on the pier. He goes, you see that little red boat right there? Just a little red boat with a little motor. He goes, you see that little red boat? I go, yeah. He goes, that's my boat. And he goes, and he points down about 3 or 4 football fields away along the coast. And there's a little like area. And he goes, you see over there all those little red houses? I go, yeah. He goes, I live in one of those houses with 3 of my best friends. We're roommates. That means every day I wake up with my best friends. I get in my boat. I take a boat to work on the ocean. And I come and hang out with my friends. What's more money going to do for me? And I go, dang, that does sound amazing.
So I have a kid or two.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think the point that I learned is like sometimes society also shapes what we must do. Yeah. And really, I think what this guy was very clear on is what makes him happy. And so for some people, what makes them happy, like for me, I do love traveling. I love it. And if I could travel 4 months out of the year, I would. And that costs more money. Some people like my friend Billy, he wants to be home. He hates traveling. He would love to be home all day, every day. But, he may have other interests. So the point is getting very clear on what is it that you care about? Who is your David, your perfect person? What life is he living? Without justifying, without saying like with the money I've got. And then from there, find a way to carve away the things that don't make that real.
Yeah, that's excellent. And, it was Jeff Hoffman, the founder of, not Travelocity. What is it?
Never heard of him.
He's, the kiosk machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, he created those.
Wow.
Getting your ticketing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then he went on to booking.com.
Okay.
But it's just his big thing is like figure out how big of a boat do you need?
Yeah.
Because the people who just relentlessly chase money are the most unhappy people. And you just got to figure out what's enough for you.
When you're making money the goal instead of the goal, and money the tool to get the goal.
Yep. So, Mike, man, I can't wait to read through this. I love it. Thank you for coming on. And when's this coming out? June
7th. Yeah, you'll be able to get on Amazon. You could also go to standardasyou.com right now, and you could actually get like the first, I think it's standardasyoubook.com. But you'll be able to get the first, like, I think few chapters or so. And you'll also be able to, I think, pre-order as well. But I think the important thing, if I can make a recommendation to the people that get this book, number one, get one for your whole team.
Yep.
Because you want everybody on the same page, number one. Number two, even though it could be read in about an hour and a half, don't. What I have seen, because I have similar books like this for my team in our industry, what I see work really well is we all read a chapter together, separately, and then we come together in a meeting and we discuss our takeaways from the chapter. That's been amazing because what Katie will take away is different than what Nick will take away. Even though the essence is the same, Katie will see how to apply that differently than Nick, and that gives everybody in the room a little bit more. So each chapter in this book, you should be able to read in about 4 minutes. So they're quick chapters.
Nice.
And then from there, just do your 10-minute meeting, 15-minute meeting where, hey, what did you take away? What did you take away? What did you take away? You want to build a great culture? Easiest way to do it is do something together.
That's great. You got like 13 lessons in there too, I think it was. That's like a whole quarter.
Rules. You must, if you break one of those rules, you're not an A player. Doesn't mean you're not an A person. I'm an A person, I believe, but I'm not an A player on the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So
you're not.
So no, I'm not. So you could be a great person and not be a great player for the team that you're on.
Yeah.
Right? So this will help you get very clear as to what will be required for you to be an A player.
Excellent. All right, guys. The standard is you, early June 7th.
June 7th.
So go pick it up. Get on the pre-order list. We'll definitely put this in the podcast show notes. Mike, appreciate you having on. Love all our discussions. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it,
man. Everybody, we'll see you next time.
Listen, if you're stuck and could use some advice in your business, whether you're just starting out, a veteran in the business, or expanding online or into multiple locations, you can hop on a free call with us to pick our brains at ptlegends.com/one-on-one call. You can see that in the show notes. That is with numbers. Chances are we'll be able to help you get some clarity on what you need to do specifically in your business to get to the next level. It's not a sales call. We'll connect you with the right resources to help you solve your problems. But if you want to learn more about working with us, that's cool too. We can share that information should you want it. So book your call now to get out of the rat race before your week consumes you, which is easy to do at ptlegends.com/one-on-one call. That's with the number 1 on the number 1 call. You can find this in the show notes. See you soon.